an event coming up, let us know. We'll put it up there and so on. But one of the points that I really want to point out, and I'll take you on a little journey of one of our advisors. So the what we offer is what we offer in Hennepin County and who we contract with. So we've got our business navigators, we have our resource directory, we have our advisors, we have our group learning. Upcoming events and government resources are kind of across the board, but we do kind of pull things in and try to sift through some of the things that are out there that might not pertain or be, we think, as relevant. And then we have our areas of support. You can see we added on some new ones: accounting, idea stage, and then we changed, what was it, strategic? I always say it wrong, Michelle. We're business strategy
Business
now.
strategic plan. It was, yeah, business
Strategic planning. So it kept going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and we decided to land on business strategy. So that's kind of business strategy, accounting, and idea stage are kind of the new words that are up there. And so you may find an advisor in more places than one. So, and then of course we have the intake form here, but we now have created an intake form that has a unique URL for each of your intakes. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. So if I go into the learn more about advisors, if I scroll down here, it just gives you a little bit of information about advisors. You can see all of the different, advisors with our lovely little connection here. Our 10 new advisors aren't up here yet because we're not going to start promoting them until we train them next week. But most of you are up here unless we are still having conversations or your contract hasn't gone for signature. As soon as it goes for signature, we pop you up here. So I'll just take a look here, back pocket. There's Kathy's right there. So this is her card. I just want to show you some changes that we're doing on cards. So I click learn more and I go into her card. We are actually listing exactly what's in your contract that you are contracted to work on. So what's in your scope of work is actually on your card, along with the bio that you shared with us actually I believe it was last May. So these are what's up here right now. Then it also notes specialties, specializations, stages that you work with, and languages you speak. And then everybody has this schedule of consultation. So I know this might seem slightly monotonous, but I want you all to know exactly how much time it takes and what we're asking people when they do the intake, because now we want you to make sure people fill out the intake. Now, it is advised that they fill it out before they work with you because of the acknowledgement form, but you can also have them fill it out before you invoice us. The reason we want you to do this is because we're actually going to change the invoice, and it's going to be less work for you to the invoice because we're going to collect data on the upfront, and then all you have to show us is the outcomes and the hours in the invoice. Okay? And let me show you why. So if I go into learn more, it's going to take us to our intake, 3 to 5 minutes. Okay. It might take me a little longer because I have to type here, but just a short little intake of what this is. We head right in here. Are you 18? Yes. If you're not, it disqualifies you. Is your business located in Hennepin County? Yes. It does not disqualify you if you say, no, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. It does disqualify you if you say, no, I have a business. I don't have a business in Hennepin County. Is your business registered with the Minnesota Secretary of State? Yes. If you say no, it does not disqualify you. It just puts you with idea stage people. Okay. So then the next thing I do, what is my name? I'll just say my name is Test right now. My street address, I'll just do Test right now. I have to city, I'll just grab Bloomington for now. You do have to put in a legitimate zip code, my name, my last name. If I'm the business owner, it just says that. If I say yes, co-owner. If I say no, it's going to ask me what my additional title is, just because we know that there's more than one person that works for an organization. You have to put in a valid email address. Now you all know my email address. You can email me anytime if you want, only if it's nice. And then my industry, so I'll put right down here now, I'm other services. Then it's going to ask me my size. So I'll say I'm that size. It's going to ask me how many employees I have. Some of those put you into a certain category. And then next it will take me here. Because I was on Kathy's link, I can either choose, maybe all of a sudden I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to work with Kathy. I might want to talk to a business navigator. I could click that. or easily talk to Kathy, or if I wanted to, I could display all advisors, and it lists all of our advisors. Our new ones aren't up there yet because we're not viewing them right now, but it shows all of our advisors. But to make it easier, I just want to do Kathy because that's who I was given the link for. If you'll notice, it says the link right up here. It says Back Pocket Strategies. Then I go next. If there's something I want to tell them, I'm telling you nothing. But I could tell somebody something about what I want. Then it's going to ask me some really basic demographics. I can prefer to answer or prefer not to answer. And then my language. And then the last thing is the acknowledgments. These acknowledgments, some of you held in paper form before. You don't have to do that anymore. They're all here. I read through those acknowledgments. We'll highlight these in a little bit later on in training. I acknowledge it. Basically, this is making it so that they are noting that they're responsible for working with you as well. They're responsible for the work. They cannot blame you if their business does not succeed after working with you. So those acknowledgments. I certify that I'm in Hennepin County. I sign. I type in my name one more time, and I click submit. As soon as I click submit, Kathy, you're probably going to get a notification from me. And then also we get a notification as well. And the business owner gets a notification that they're going to be contacted in 48 hours or 3 business days. And that is the intake form. So if I go back to Kathy here, not only can you find Kathy in the advisors, what we offer, but you'll notice she's in financial management and business strategy. So if I go into financial management, I'll also see Kathy right down here. Okay. I'll also see her in the other area of support that she's in as well, which is business strategy. So I'll also see her. This one we're still fixing. There's a couple of tweaks we're doing. Kathy, I'll get to your question in a second. If I go into the resource directory, I can also search by resource type right here. So if I wanted to search advisors, it's going to show me all the advisors. So you'll see Back Pocket Strategy. These are the Hennepin advisors. It says right there. It also says her specialization, her stage, her languages right there. I could choose to heart this and keep it in my areas. So I could go advising. And then I could find those, or if I wanted to get into the area of support and I wanted to do business strategy, you would see that she also ends up there. If I just clicked off advising and just did business strategy, I'm going to get slightly different, but she's still there. If I wanted to, let's say I was more interested in really looking for myself as a resource specialty, and let's say my specialty, I'm specifically looking for support around LGBTQ, Kathy would also show up in that area as well, right here. So what I wanted to show you is just sort of the different depths of the way people can find you, the way the intake form is, and the different ways that we are sort of promoting you and the resources. And you'll see my favorites now. Kathy's in my favorites. So I'll pause here a second. Kathy, you had a question?
I just wanted to say this is fantastic. Fantastic.
Oh, good.
Fantastic.
Good.
I love it. I love the little tweaks. It's going to make it so easy. I love it. Thank you. That whole resource, the way you can cross-reference what our specialties are outside of that has been really helpful. That I've had some LGBTQ people say that that's been really helpful. They want to feel like someone understands. So that's great. Just giving you kudos. It's going to be even better than before for people to find us.
Good. Well, I hope so. We're continuing to improve it. We're continuing to do tweaks with our IT team around certain areas. We are looking to even tweak kind of some of the resources like location. We're hoping to add our cities in there and city-specific resources, but we're working on that. Ahmed.
Yeah, Lily, thank you very much for the presentation here. This is really amazing. The new website is very amazing. So you mentioned the new invoice is going to populate some of the pre-existing client information. Is that automatic, or is that, sometimes we have a client sign up and they might not work with us, or they might not schedule a meeting, although they signed up. How that's going to work?
Yeah, so we're still working on the improvement of the invoice structure. So I'm working with another side of our data team. And what we've noticed is that if an intake is filled in, We have all the preliminary demographics. We have the business information. So what we're looking at the invoice being is it's going to have a similar look and feel, but less fields for you to fill in. Cross fingers. That's what I'm working on. Basically, the fields would be, we would need to know the business, their name and their email address. So in our system, the email address is going to be the primary element. And we know that sometimes email addresses are misspelled. That's why we have the email confirmation in there, right? So you'll be asked the name, the email address. And what we'll do is we'll second check it in our system to make sure that we have the preliminary information. Okay. And then you need to answer the outcomes. So there's some of the invoice, the second part of the invoice, I think they're in yellow actually on your current invoice, where it says it has drop downs of what the outcomes were. Some of them we had fillable before, but now we're just going to have them be drop downs associated with what you're contracted for. Okay. And so it's going to take a little time, but we're going to try to personalize them. And so you'll have drop downs for the outcomes, and then you'll put in your hours, and then you'll have the front page of your invoice that will say your hours in it. So the front page of the invoice will look the same, but the business owner information will be a little less. I see all the hands coming up. Just let me answer one at a time. So we're looking to improve it so it's not so arduous for you to fill out and that you don't have to fill in all that preliminary info. But we will need the intake form completed before you invoice us. Okay. So let's say somebody comes through here and works with you. It's already done. Let's say, Ahmed, you meet somebody at an event and you start to work with them. We ask that you share your unique URL with them eventually before you invoice us for them. It's best if you do it right away, just so that they sign the acknowledgments, right? Because that puts your own, it helps secure things for you. But if you have them fill it out before, that allows for the second check. Okay. We're of course going to be doing this case by case basis to make sure that it works well, but this is what we'd like to try. All right. So we've got, I think, Victor, is that
Malishka.
you? Malishka?
Yeah, we went Malishka first.
Oh,
Malishka was
Malishka, go
first,
ahead.
so.
Thank you so much. I have lots of questions, so just tell me that those would be answered in the next round. So I'll go fast. One, I do a lot of restaurants. So working with Victor is super helpful because he's just an expert and I know he's going to do wonderfully. But sometimes, let's say, and Victor may refer to me a restaurant, but sometimes, let's say I have like 3 closings in that month. There's no way, despite the fact that I would adore to work with his client, for me to work on his client. So if he checks with me before, we save time by not referring them to me. So I wonder if we can have like a quick behind the walls check-in. And my question goes, if I have already checked with Victor, can they check Victor and me? Because it's going to be a fairly fast, let's say they need to buy a restaurant in a month. They are going to need that strategy session super fast, and having them fill out the form 2 or 3 times is going to be slightly problematic. So we'll do it. We've done it. But it might be useful to just be able to coordinate that coordinated service too. And second question, I have to clear conflicts. Legal advice is very tricky. And sometimes I do not feel comfortable working with somebody. And I'm going to tell you why. Because they don't realize how much they don't know and they don't follow instructions. And it's really problematic to have somebody who is asking me, for example, how to not follow the rules of HR. Like, but I really, really want to pay them as an independent advisor. As an independent contractor, despite the fact that I am an employee. So I am going to be able to not. Can I have I wonder how we can we
So
refer
let me help,
to
Melissa, I want to get to all of your questions, but we have several other ones and we have a rest of a presentation to get through. What I'd like to say about two of your things quickly, Melissa, is that first of all, if there is somebody you do want to work with or isn't the right fit, it's a perfect person to send them back to a business navigator and we will reallocate them to someone else. So you always have the option to send them back to Eshel or Jessica and we will manage that. Second of all, I would love to come up with a system that makes it so that a business owner doesn't have to refill out the form for each advisor. But I will say to have a business owner fill out a form, it takes them just 3 to 5 minutes for all of the amount of time and money that we are allocating to them and you are allocating to them. So I don't feel bad about having them fill it out more than once. We attempted to build a system for over 9 months that made it so that they didn't have to, but they would have had to log in and do two-factor authentication, and it took about 17 minutes for them to be able to do that. So we decided to opt into this easy form and have them fill it out more than once, than creating a space that made people feel uncomfortable where they had to create an account. So I totally hear you. We're continuing to look at easier ways of doing it. And then also we do have a referral form that we're going to be starting. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. So I know you have more questions and I would love to have time just to talk with you about them and navigate through them, but I want to get to a few other ones. Is that okay? Is that
Yeah,
okay?
so I think
those
she
were my
kind
two
of,
questions. Good to go. And love that I have that excuse. That's the perfect answer. Thank you.
Absolutely.
all
Victor.
right.
Lots of great positive additions. This is great. Thank you. And again, this question may be answered later, but if, for example, I know many of us may be working with clients that have already gone through the enrollment process, the onboarding form. In order for us to continue working with them, do they need to, again, go in and fill out this document, or is the fact that they're on record now going to be sufficient? And the second question is, and again, I don't know if that's even an option this time or not, but previously there was an option to request additional hours over 25. Is that going to, two parts of that? Number one, will that be an option again? And the second question is, if we had somebody that, again, looking at last year, that we've been granted the approval to go over 25 hours with, is that still in effect? Those are my two questions.
Al, you want me to grab these or you want to grab them?
You go ahead, Lily. Yeah.
So if they filled out a form in 2024, they're still in our system. So we'll look them up. You can just maybe make note of that. We'll do something in the invoice that allows for that. So if they're in 2024, they're already in our system. Per advisor, they do need to fill it out because the acknowledgement is only for that advisor that they select to work with. So that's why. But if you have a pre-existing client that's already filled it out, Victor, we're fine. Second of all, in terms of, yes, we are still going to allow for additional hours requests. We just have a different system for it, and we'll talk about that. And then in terms of if they had 25 hours in 2024, can they request in 2025? Is that what it was, Victor?
Well, that's another great question. I'll take an answer to that. But my question was, if we've been granted an extension of hours in 2024, is that still kick over into 2025 for that
Yes.
client?
Yes. Yeah. If you have not extended those, yes, absolutely. The clients you're currently working with continue to slide into this next year. We'll just have to have a notation to know whether they're in our 24 records or 25 records. So good question. Tashi.
Kind of circling back to Victor's question, or your statement, can client request an additional, can they come back? If they were served in 2024, can they come back and get an additional 25 hours or whatever it may be? But mainly my question was about the invoice form. So I appreciate all the changes and it being a drop down, but is there a section for notes? So say for instance,
Well, we can work on that. That's really still in the exploratory phase. So I don't have a lot of information. But it's a very good point. But we're also trying to make it easier for our team in terms of what we're doing. So, but I can see where notes might be important.
yeah, just
Sorry to interrupt you.
No, that's okay. Just because I think especially with those that are in business strategy, it can kind of not be so cookie cutter. So just so that we can add a little bit of context, maybe limited it to like 100 characters like before like we had, just to kind of give a little bit more data outside of what is probably in the standard. And then maybe if you keep seeing it as a repetitive thing, it can then be added into the drop down eventually. I don't know, but that's
Good point. Thank you
yeah.
for that. Yeah. Victor, do you still have another question? Otherwise, I'm going to move on to Juan. I still see your hand
No,
up.
I just saw, again, the question you brought up, if a client, let's say, again, looking at 2024, can a client start again in 2025, right? With the program, or once they fit 25 hours, if we had 25 hours with them in 2024 and we want to continue working with them in 2025, is that a request for additional hours? Or again, does it reset for all clients at the beginning of the year?
Let me get back to you on that. Ashel,
Yeah, so here's what I'll say. Historically, we have not had the need to say, say how the 25 hours, whether it covers the multiple months or multiple years. What we've done is we've said, yeah, if they're eligible for another 25 hours, but that's something that we need to come to a decision on. And so to be determined on that, because we've been generous. We were generous with the program. We are now talking about Hennepin County taxpayer dollars. And so if we see a lot of repetition of the same clients, we may very well change that policy. But right now, we've allowed for advisors to serve a client 25 hours in 1 year and 25 in another. So let's get back to you all on going forward. Lily?
And you guys, we have a lot more in the presentation that might answer some of these questions, and we have a Q&A at the end. Can we please get through the rest of that? I don't mean to say that we can't hear you. I certainly want to hear you, but I want to get through some of the details that could answer some questions, and then we will have Q&A. So Juan, you will be first in the Q&A, and Victor, your hand is still up. I'll have you in the Q&A as well. But I'd like to move forward.
Oh, wait. Well, let's.
Yes,
Juan is feverishly waiting.
Yes. So I do not have a question. Like, I'm going to wait until you guys cover everything you need to cover. But what I really wanted to say is, I saw the invitation being, until the end of the hour, and I have other plans, with other clients. I want to be respectful with you all, with people here, and with also like my other clients. So my question to you, the only question that I have for you, like, when are we going to be finishing this call? Are you going to record this call? So if I can't stay the whole time, can I watch the replay? Because this is very interesting, and I'm really concerned. Like, I'm stressed out because I need to leave soon, and I feel like you guys have like 80% or 90%.
It's being recorded, and we will send that as a follow-up. And we totally understand if you have to drop off. That's why I'm hoping to jump right in. And Tashi, I'll get to your question, but I'd like to move forward. Okay.
Yeah, to your point, Juan, let's go ahead and get moving. So business navigation. So the business navigation, just so that you know, it's typically 10 to 15 minutes. We review the areas of support. We find out if they're existing business or an idea, and then we refer them accordingly. I'm just going to show you quickly what they receive from an email from us. So if you take a look here, this is the email that they receive with links to the various resource cards based upon the area of support they're looking for, with instructions to how to access that. So
I'm seeing your emails right now. Oh, okay.
Yep, that's the email. Yep. Can
Great.
everybody see that's the email, the referral email? Okay, great. So let me hold on just a second, get my PowerPoint back up to the screen here. Whoop, went too fast there. So the areas of support, you've looked at those with the website, but there were 8, there are now 10. What we did was we split up accounting and financial management. So that because they're 2 different things. Accounting is some things like bookkeeping, where financial management can be financial reports, projections, etc. And then we've added the idea stage, which is really important because those idea folks, we have identified advisors we specifically fund for 15 hours of support per advisor, or 15 hours of support for the client to make a determination as to whether they want to move forward with the business. And so that's a new component that we've added, and then business strategy. So if you have a client that's within the idea stage, you want to make sure you get them to an idea stage advisor, because they're going to take them through the steps to determine viability of a business before they spend a lot of hours, let's say, with marketing or legal. We want to make sure they've got a firm foundation for their business. So here's the key components of the difference with the idea stage. There's 15-hour support versus 25. We want to be good stewards of county taxpayer dollars and make sure we're not expending a lot of hours on an idea that doesn't make sense. So those idea stage advisors will work for up to 15 hours with the client. And the idea, it's for non-registered, so not registered with the Secretary of State or businesses that want to pivot. And there's a coaching to refine that business idea, and then providing guidance so that they can complete a business lean canvas. Not necessarily, they don't want to complete a business plan, but at least make sure that they've got a business lean canvas. And then it equips them to determine the viability, and then they can refer, once they determine that the business is viable, they can be referred to other advisors where appropriate, and then they can get up to the 25 hours per advisor. The key here is really, are they planning to register with the Secretary of State or otherwise, like register with a DBA, so that it's a viable business. Lily, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say that we'll continue to look at the area of support with Idea Stage and improve it and get feedback from you. At some point in time, we may gather together the Idea Stage contracted individuals to have a discussion. So just know that we understand that this is new and we'll continue to look at it. Go ahead.
Great. Thanks. Thanks, Lily. So communication and referrals. So there are a couple of things. These aren't new, but I wanted to make sure we stress them. So contact the business owner within 48 hours with a scheduling process. You are required to confirm the location and registration with the Secretary of State and the property records per client. And that's because we only touch about a third of the clients who receive advisor services. So you all are responsible for making sure that they are located in Hennepin County versus other counties in the state. And then what we ask is that you share with the client during the initial intake meeting, determine fit and agree on scope. That particular intake meeting, if you're determining a fit and agreeing to scope, that is not paid for. What we pay for is the actual work with the client. This is no different than any other consulting firm in terms of, finding out if it's a good fit before billing. And so that's the situation. We want to make sure that now, if your first meeting is actually doing the work, then you can actually bill for that, but not for the initial intake meeting process. We want to make sure that you ensure that all the clients complete that Elevate intake form on the website. That is a requirement now. So no PDF, no signed, paper versions that you keep records of. It's required that they do it online, and you can certainly walk them through that process. Make sure that they understand Elevate Hennepin and Hennepin County's role in helping bring this program to light. And then be sure at the end of your session or your work with a client that you've emailed a close of work with outcomes survey, and we'll be working on that. So communication recommendations as opposed to requirements. We ask that you remind them within 24 hours. That will help with the no-show element. Make sure that the scope of services are emailed and they are in agreement with that. And then, let them know that where the status of their hours. That's the main concern that people have on the surveys, is that they didn't know when they ran out of hours. So keep them updated periodically as to how many hours they've used and how many they have left. So with referrals, we're working on a referral form, and Lily mentioned this. The form will include you selecting your company or your organization, who you're wanting to refer to, and some basic information about the client, probably a 2 or 3 minute, maybe a 1 to 2 minute form. And that helps us keep track. To Malishka's point, what you want to do if you want to make a referral to another advisor is reach out to them first as a courtesy, find out if they have availability, if it's a good fit. If it is, go ahead and complete that form. And the receiving advisor is asked to, within 48 hours, respond just the same as they would respond to something coming from the website. And as we've already stated, the client must complete an intake form for each advisor. This is important because it protects you, Hennepin County, and the client. So a little bit about work orders and invoices. So work orders have gone out to about 2/3 of the group. We're waiting to get to a certain contract point before we send those out, but I'll show you what that looks like. So the work order includes a not to exceed amount for the duration of period. In the case of existing advisors, the date range for the work order is semi-annual. So your work order runs from January 1st to July 15th. So really, we need that data in order to determine for January through July, we need that data in order to determine if, in fact, we determine the amount for your next work order. So that's important data. So let me take a look. I'm going to show you a work order. So the work order includes your name, issuing date, information about you, and then here's the important part. Here's the current amount of the work order will appear here, and the range will appear there. Okay.
So you know, everyone, work orders are new for us too. So this is a new contract for us. Work orders are a new thing. We're hoping that it eliminates paper in delays. But please give us a little grace as we figure out how these work and how to distribute them. And yeah, that's all I ask. Thanks.
Yeah. And Lily mentioned the changes to the invoice. Just a reminder, you can submit monthly or quarterly. Our preference is quarterly, but we will accept monthly invoices. In order to receive the 375 quarterly payments, we ask that you deliver your invoices on time, and she explained, and you'll get a chance to see, and we'll walk through the changes for the invoices once they've gone live. And so it's important, as I mentioned, to submit your invoices on time so we can do a proper work order fund allocation for the next period. So a little bit about data collection and acknowledgement. So that's really, we are using the fully completed intake form to help us track business owners, what businesses, the specifics, the support need and demographics, and that helps us keep this program funded. So it's important that we get all these things completed. We ask that the invoice is fully completed and includes things, at least for the time being, until it's pre-populated, the outcomes, the number of jobs created, funds secured, deliverables, and hours also help us justify the viability or justify the purpose of this program. And so satisfaction surveys help us track performance and outcomes. So we ask that you actively help us participate in collecting that data. And then, as you know, we do a semi-annual survey that helps us keep track of, it helps us so that we can track ongoing growth and additional needs. So the message here is to help us encourage completion of the surveys. And the acknowledgement, as I mentioned, protects you, the client, in Hennepin County. It also asks the client to take personal responsibility for the work that is going on, so they're fully engaged with you. If they aren't engaging, then it's perfectly acceptable for you to say you're no longer serving that client. So let's take a look. So the other thing is it informs about how data will be shared and associated privacy. So these are the legalese that are involved with the certification and acknowledgement. So the data collection and support helps. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. Yep. No. So ensure clients can, insurance. Please ensure that clients complete that intake form before the conclusion of your scope of work. Again, this ensures that you all get paid, that we can collect data and justify the ongoing existence of the program, that you fully complete your invoices and share the survey or support us in getting that survey out. And Elevate Hennepin staff with also distributing that semi-annual survey, encourage clients to complete the survey. And we ask that you also make sure that clients understand Hennepin County's investment in ongoing support. So a few do's and don'ts. So here are the don'ts. We ask that you not promote services for fees or for programs. We ask that you don't say that you're at capacity or out of money. Please instead refer them back to a navigator or to another advisor, because we aren't, while you may not have capacity and you're not out of money, the program, it does exist to provide the support, and there are other resources that they can leverage. So we encourage you to make those referrals or send them back to send them to a navigator. We don't assume that someone's in Hennepin County. We ask that you check. Don't assume all projects are 25 hours. I know some people say, oh, to work with me, it's going to be 25 hours. Not all projects are 25 hours, so please keep that in mind and select projects with a scope of 25 hours, because that's what's allotted per business. So do not assume additional hours will be approved. So that is, we are asking to meet with advisors when they're wanting to request additional hours, instead of like we did before, which is a form. We're an added step to justify extending hours. A couple of other things: do not bill for that intake session or for and then do not expend time on unresponsive clients. So if they're not responding, we don't ask that you continue to, try and meet with them. It's fine to just discontinue the relationship. And if you want to draft an email that says, we've tried to get in touch with you, and unfortunately we have not, so we're going to conclude the work at this point. If you want to re-engage, let us know. Something of that nature, I think, is really great for ensuring that you're spending time with the clients who are serious about collecting your advice, moving forward, engaged in and engaged with helping grow their business. So do not charge for no-shows. I know that you blocked off the time. What we ask is that you have something else that you could be doing in the event that they don't show up, and you don't have to continue to offer an opportunity for folks who are a no-show. Please do not assume clients know about Elevate Hennepin. So referrals verbally, complete the form. Let me get a little glass of water here. Please don't misrepresent the brand. And then you cannot charge a fee to clients if the work exceeds 25 hours. So those are the don'ts. A lot of do's here, and we'll share this PowerPoint presentation with you afterwards. So do offer other ecosystem resources, suggest resources that we hope that they'll either low cost or no cost, because that's our commitment, and we ask you to do the same. Do suggest other advisors as a resource. Check the Secretary of State registration. We ask that you meet with Elevate Hennepin staff, so reach out to us so that we can connect before we can offer extra hours. Do set expectations for clients so they clearly know when they'll hear from you, what to expect, what deliverables they have that will help this project move forward, or the work that you're doing move forward. Please use Elevate Hennepin brand guidelines. We also ask that you have the client complete that intake. We're going to keep repeating that because we feel like it is a really important part of the process, that they're in Hennepin County, that we complete they complete a certification acknowledgement, that we track on invoices, and then those are the key elements in order to help the program run successfully. So we ask that you promote Elevate Hennepin on your website and social media. We also ask that you work hard to track your hours and work orders as NTE. So be sure you're paying attention to how many hours you've expended, how many clients you have in the pipeline, and how much money you have left, so that you can ask for an increase or ask for additional funds if needed, and we can make a determination. We ask that you do share success stories with Elevate Hennepin staff. And we ask, oh, sorry, I wanted to cover this one right here. So we ask that you do communicate. We ask that you do communicate with Elevate Hennepin's staff if you're getting close to your NTE and could use additional funds. We'll do our best to assess, and if budget and the situation dictates, allows, we will extend an additional work order. The additional work orders are not guaranteed. It's the semi-annual work order is what we will provide you, and then additional work orders are at Elevate Hennepin staff discretion. All right, so we ask that you join the monthly meetings. Again, we ask that you turn on your cameras so that we can see each other, get to know each other, and that we're fully engaged. There was one more slide that, let's see here. That
Okay.
you, oh, here we go, here it
Next
is. All
steps,
right, sorry
yeah.
about that. Yeah,
That's okay.
didn't mean to make folks dizzy. Lily, can you cover next steps if you would?
So we're updating materials right now that we'll send via email. So a branding guide, contact sheet, referral form, survey form, updated invoice form, your unique URL, and then other materials as needed. So we'll be sending that over the next couple of weeks. Advisors to add updated links and Elevate logo to your website or social media. And please have us review to make sure that you have the correct logo. We don't expect you to do that until after we've sent you the materials. So we'll get that to you. Training for new advisors will be on the 17th. And then we're going to do an in-person networking for all advisors on 2/20. So we look forward to seeing you in person and we can all get to know each other. Go ahead. Yours next.
All right. Thanks, Lily. Yep. So back to questions and answers. I recognize that we are past the time. But for those of all who can stay and have questions, please raise your hand if you have any questions about what we've, Lee. Lee, you're muted. Go ahead.
Yep. Hey, I'm just curious. I understand from your guys' perspective why you don't want the advisors to say I'm at capacity or I'm out of funds. But I'm just curious if you have a suggestion on what you would like us to say, because it's hard to say to the client, we have lots of capacity and plenty of funds, but we're not going to work with you. Please go back to Hennepin County.
Get some exact talking points for you, Lee, and send them to you so that you know exactly what to say and you have a script. It's basically,
Thank you.
You're not out of money because we have a lot of, so I guess it depends on if you don't want to work with them or you are at capacity. Like, I guess I'd have to understand more why, but we'll come up with some scripts and talking points for all of you that you can use. And then you can send them on to a business navigator.
Victor.
Yes, question on the invoicing. So currently the kind of the process is to some degree, the way I'm doing it is, I'm doing a cut and paste, for lack of better words, from the intake forms, and Omron sending me out those, on the weekly basis into the invoicing. Is that going to kind of be the same process for, we're kind of, again, we're going, we're, for lack of better words, we are transferring information from one document to another. Is it going to be the same information that's going to be asked in that, that business information part of the invoicing? That is one process right now that is a bit tedious. I'm just kind of curious if that's going to be the same.
Victor, the intake form actually takes in all of the information that you've been filling out in the beginning of the invoice. That's the part we're trying to get rid of, right? But we can only get rid of that if people actually fill out the intake. And that has historically not been the case with over a third of invoices. People haven't filled out the intake. So we're hoping to get rid of that. And that's how the intake solves it. Okay. And then the second part of the invoice, which is the outcomes, you have that data and know that information. And so we are hoping that all you'll have to add is the name of the business owner and their email address that they associated with the intake, right? And then you answer the outcome questions and how many hours you worked with them. That's what we're hoping to get to. Okay. And then we are going to be sending auto reports. So every time somebody fills out an intake, you get a notification, right? But we are also going to send auto reports from our program to you of everybody who's requested to work with you that week. Okay. We're
Right.
working on that right now. That's been manual that either Nikhil or Amran has done. And we're working on automating that, not only for our team, but also for consistency for you guys.
So thank you, Lily. So I'm clear then that the idea is that everything will be automated to some degree, ensuring people are filling out the intake forms. And the only part we'll have to actually put in at the end, or obviously would be, I guess, hours and comments. Is that and the business name or something like that? So it'd be very minimal that we would be doing versus like right now, there's probably 25 fields in there, that we're.
There'll probably be 10 fields, Victor, because there's about another 10 fields that are only outcomes that we don't know because you're meeting with them, right? Like, what did you work with them on? What were the outcomes of you working? Are you completed working with them? So if you look at your current business owner thing and you look at, there's all the demographics and all that stuff, you won't have to fill out any of that. But there is a portion that I think is in yellow. I think that's the exact color. And that notes the outcomes. So we are going to have an invoice structure for you by the end of this month, but I'm working on it right now with our team. And we may reach out to a few of you just to get your feedback on it as well. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tashi.
Hi, I have 4 questions, comments, just kind of confirming a few things. So, number 1 is if they worked with us in 2025 and they need an additional, they want to come back, 2024, they want to come back in 2025, they do not need to fill out another intake form. We just have to note that they previously worked in 2020 with us in 2024, correct?
We're going to reconfirm that, and we're going to talk about how we notate that on the invoice so that we can look appropriately in our 2024 files. So we will get back to you about that, but I do not imagine if you are already working with them, if you worked with them and your work completed and now they're coming back, that might be a different story. And those are extended hours where a request would have to be made. We might have to look into that. Okay.
Okay.
So around hours and extended hours, I don't want to have any more conversation about that right now because we're going to make some detailed rules about that since there's been so many and send that out to you via email. But we need to talk through it with some other parts of our staff first.
Okay. And when looking at that, I just want to add, we want to clarify if they can come back for an extension of the same service or it has to be a different service too. And then with that being said, if a business owner has more than one business, can they return to us for that for the other business to get an additional 25 hours? I know that was okay before in the past, but is that still a thing? If you want to think about that and put that in the Q&A as well, no problem. You guys mentioned about promoting services for fee to clients. What I want to note is I understand when a client is coming through navigation, that is a client that came to us through Elevate Hennepin. But for example, a lot of the time, our clients come through us without referral, the majority of our clients, to be fair. And a lot of them are already working with us, probably on something else that is costing them a fee or a minimal fee. But we suggest them using Elevate Hennepin to save the client money. So I just want to get clarification on that. That's another thing
That's a good point, Tashi. That's a great point, and we'll also write that in clarifying email as well, so that language makes sense. It makes sense if they originate with you and they're already one of your clients, and then you recommend Hennepin. Absolutely, we're talking about when somebody comes through Elevate, comes to you, you're talking through their services, and then you say, "But we can also, you can do this, but it will cost you." That's where it doesn't work.
Makes perfect sense. And then last but not least, and going back to the non-responsive rate, and this is to me is high on our list. We have organization standards that's across the board for all of our clients that we kind of explain, saying, hey, we will reach out to you 3 times or 2 times, whatever it is. If you no-show twice, we can't really work with you, not unless you communicate with us. I've had a family emergency, or you have a client that's having a baby or just had the baby, or, whatever the case may be. But I just want to ensure that we're on the same page with the county when it comes to setting those standards, because it's, saves them time, saves you time, saves dollars on your end, our end. And we put that up front to the client, because once again, we can take the horse to the water, but we can't force it to drink. And if they're not committed to themselves, we can't bill for no shows, right? We can't keep scheduling meetings and folks aren't showing up. So I just want to clarify.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. The other thing, just so you're all aware, things like this that are very specific to the rules of engagement for a business owner, we're creating an FAQ page that is going to be on the website. And we are going to be putting details like this in the FAQ page so business owners understand, because it might be something we can't put in the acknowledgement, but it's something that's part of the program and sort of rules of engagement with your advisor. So things like that we will put in there, and questions that you have that make sense for a business owner to understand as well. But we'll also write these down and send them to you, because some of these are great questions that maybe we've had discussions about, but we haven't written down. So we'll be sure to address those. Thank you, Tashi.
Oh,
Sorry to step over you, Michelle, if you had an answer.
No, that's great. So I want to thank you all for joining today. I know we went long. We should have anticipated this with this group who's highly engaged, so we appreciate that. As we mentioned, we'll be training in the 10 new advisors on the 17th of January. Amran has your pages and links up and going if you are able to take on clients at this time, and she'll activate your pages and links at whatever time you, so please always be sure to communicate with Amran and myself about your availability so that we can make sure that it's a good client experience. With that, we will let you get back to what you were doing. As always, I want to thank you for all your great work. We're looking forward to working with you in 2025, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.